You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
For the final time, the Wellington Phoenix will play a home A-League men's match in Auckland. It's this afternoon. They take on Sydney FC, 5:30 kickoff at Eden Park. Of course, they won't be back taking a home game to Auckland because, of course, last hour we heard from the new club in town, Auckland FC. So I guess the Phoenix will look for other places to take home games away from Wellington. But in 11 previous matches at Eden Park, the Phoenix have never lost. 6 wins, 5 draws in their previous visits. So it's been a happy hunting ground for them. Great pleasure to welcome into the ZB studio Phoenix head coach Giancarlo Italiano. Great to see you, mate. Thanks for stopping in. Let's start with the new club in town. We saw Auckland FC launched here in Auckland on Thursday. How do you feel about having a New Zealand rival in the A-League?
I think it's very important for the New Zealand landscape. I think competition, makes clubs accountable because obviously, you're dealing with competition for players. You're also in competition for fans. You're in competition for the actual landscape itself. So I think it's very healthy. Not until we start playing them and see the makeup of the team do we know how strong they'll be and what they'll bring to the table.
Will it change the way the club, the Wellington Phoenix, have to go about things, particularly in terms of attracting the best Kiwi players? Because they'll be after them as well, obviously.
Yeah, if I equate it to the landscape in, for example, New South Wales, you have 5 A-League clubs competing for a similar pool base of young, talented players. And if you look at the model there, actually every academy there is thriving and there's a lot of players that are coming through. So for me, I think the fact that the Phoenix have had essentially a monopoly on the young players kind of restricts the amount of talent that can actually be produced on a whole. So I think having Auckland and potentially another team in the future will it won't diminish the product that we have. I think it'll probably just enrich it. It'll just give an opportunity for more players to be showcased. All
right, that's all to come in the future. Let's talk about the present. You haven't had too many weeks this season, just 3 in fact, when you've been reviewing a defeat. What is your review of the Melbourne City game thrown up?
It's quite interesting set of circumstances or conditions going into the game. The heat was definitely a major issue. It was also a major issue for them. I think it took away from a sort of free-flowing game that both teams wanted. I mean, if you look at City and what they did to Wanderers on Tuesday, that was, it was cooler conditions. That's the sort of football they wanted to play and also the sort of football that we aspire to as well. So from that point, that's why maybe the game looked a little bit sluggish on both ends. It wasn't really a game of a lot of chances. They got some big chances that came through our errors. But again, I don't think we merited to lose. I think we should have got something out of the game. We had some big chances at the end, but the reflection is that it's very hard to win every game. It's very hard to pick up points consistently on the road. It's okay once in a while to have a blip. For me, the main focus is just realigning the players' focus towards just the performance and making sure that we play Sydney, that we give it our all.
I saw your media during the week, and you talked about being better with the ball, or you haven't quite been where you want to be in the last couple of games. What would you like to see your team do better in possession?
Look, I always say possession is one of the biggest cliches in football. For me, it's more about the effectiveness with the ball and not making unforced errors. So there are times where we're happy to have less of the ball because we think the opponent with the ball is actually far weaker than what we are, and that gives us opportunity to capitalise. I just feel like we've had opportunity maybe in the last 2-3 weeks where we could have been better, more effective. Little decisions with the ball. Even like little things like controlling and just finding the right passing option, or just overhitting the mark. Stuff that we're doing quite consistently for a long period. It's just kind of faded away a little bit the last 2 weeks. I'm not really sure if that is probably a mixture of the fact that we're doing so well and the expectations are a lot higher, so players don't want to make that mistake, or it's just a season is just about fatigue, right? It's about grinding, and you're not going to be at your best every game. So we're just trying to find the right balance, and I think the group's always responded positively after a defeat.
When you played Sydney last time, just before the turn of the year, they had a 3-1 win in Sydney. They pressed you more than any other team has this season. Will you play differently today?
The ideas will be the same. The philosophy will be the same in terms of we won't change that. There will be tactical tweaks. There will be variations in the way we do things that we haven't done this year. That's because we obviously respect Sydney, but we also feel like they have weakness and that we can exploit that weakness. And I always feel if you throw an element of surprise going to these games, that I think the more capable coaches are the ones that can obviously think on the run and adjust. And Ufi's one of those. So I need to do something in order to disrupt the card a little bit.
There are 6 games to go. You're second. In the run-in, you play the teams that are first, third, fourth and fifth. Are we talking about 6-pointers now rather than just your 3-pointers? I know they're only worth 3 points, but sure. Denying the other team the 3 points as well.
Well, I said that in yesterday's presser. The fact is that now in all these games, it's about essentially not losing, because the loss is essentially a 6-pointer. They gain, you lose 3 points. But if you draw, they can't gain ground. It puts the burden on the other teams behind you to pick up the win, which means that they actually have to, if they want to get anything out of the season, they have to be a little bit more brazen, and that works well for you. So every point is valuable. So a draw is just as valuable as a win. Obviously, we like to win every game. Mariners are in the same boat. They have Asian Cup commitments, which is also putting would put a big stress on the playing group, but they're playing fantastic. But again, it's hard to manage those expectations, and they're also a young group. You also have Victory, who the other night probably, I wouldn't say it was a lapse, but they would have liked to win to put more pressure on us to still potentially get a top 2. So we're looking over our shoulders now. Sydney have had a lot of form, good form. So for us, the focus is making sure, one, we don't lose. Obviously, we want to win, and if we win, fantastic. That puts us in a really good position today. However, every point is going to be, invaluable.
There aren't too many players in your squad, and I think Costa's the only one I can think of who have been in this position before when they're challenging for a top 2 spot. Normally, historically, the Phoenix are like, at this time of the season, battling away to make the 6.
Sure.
Is that a coaching challenge for you in terms of the mentality of the players? Getting them up for, guys, we're battling for top 2 here, not top 6.
Yeah, look, speaking as honestly as I can, I think one thing I didn't envisage at the beginning of the year was having this conversation with players and, putting myself in this position where we have this scenario where we could create some sort of legacy for the club. However, I look to what's worked for us over the whole season. It's a game-by-game proposition, and I keep saying that. And I feel as though sometimes when we lose sight of the thing that's worked for us, sometimes the results can go against us, and there's no coincidence there. So my focus is making sure that I keep the players grounded, making sure that we tick over, every half is invaluable, that we put a performance in, which is the most important thing for me, because I think the one thing that everyone's seen is that when we perform, playing the football that we want to play, we're actually quite effective, and we do get a lot of results. So, again, I don't think there's talk in the group about, we want to win it, we want to come second, or we want a home final. It's just we want to be the best team that we can be.
Any update on the return to play of Oscar Zavada?
So at the moment, he had a relapse of training, or he had aggravation, as he called it, the other day. So for precautionary reasons, we felt it would be a big risk to play him, because we also have the international window coming up, which gives us more time to give him rest and recovery. So we're fingers crossed that extra 2.5 weeks will give us the ability to get him up to where he needs to be, and then hopefully be firing for the last 6 games.
And just on that international break, 6 of your players will hop on a plane and head halfway around the world or wherever Egypt is to play these games. Does part of you think to yourself, I would have preferred if they'd stayed here and had a bit of rest and recovery themselves?
Look, that would be me speaking selfishly, but as a coach, I'm delighted the fact that I've had 6 international players. I don't know how many other coaches can boast about something like that. I'm really happy for the younger guys as well, gaining that experience. A little bit gutted that Alex Rufer didn't make the squad. I thought that was disappointing, but again, I think he's going to show the league and hopefully Bays why that they made a mistake in not picking him. So I'm genuinely delighted, especially Lucas Kelly-Hill. Finn Sermon's had an experience now. AP, he's thereabouts. He deserves it, and I'm really happy for Costa as well because everyone said that last year he was dead. In terms of international appearances, it wasn't even considered. He was getting smashed by his own Phoenix fans for not scoring, and now everyone's saying that he deserves to start. So that's, for me, that's quite pleasing.
Big crowd coming at Eden Park this afternoon. Last time you'll bring a home game here. Next time you're up here, it'll be a derby, I guess, but that's all in the future. All the best against Sydney FC this afternoon, Chief, and thanks for popping in.
Thank you, Piney.
Thank you, mate. That is Giancarlo Italiano, the Chief, head coach of Wellington Phoenix. 5:30 this afternoon, they take on Sydney FC at Eden Park. Big crowd expected, as I say. Latest ticket sales I've seen have the crowd somewhere between 15 and even north of 20,000. So looking forward to seeing a jam-packed Eden Park this afternoon. The final visit for the Wellington Phoenix, certainly as the home team anyway. Can't wait for the derbies next year when Auckland FC join the party. They'll play their home games, incidentally, at Mount Smart. So the first derby in the 09 will be at Mount Smart. Looking forward to the first time Auckland FC come to Wellington as well to play at Sky Stadium.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.